How we doing, Ram fans? And welcome to Final Score. I'm Steve Ivy, just back from Moby Arena as the Rams took it on the chin today from a very talented New Mexico Lobo team, 76-68. I'm going to break down the game. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend. I don't know how many people we're going to have. I know a lot of people are going to watch the bowl. Are going to watch the football game. If people want to keep me posted on what's going on, if people are watching and want to keep me posted on what's going on, that's great. I'm also hoping for a guest appearance from my friend Mike Rowe, who was at the football game. And I sent him a link, and we're hoping that he comes in and shares what's going on in Tucson. And maybe we'll get a YouTube violation. I'm sure there's something against broadcasting live from a venue that is being televised. So hopefully he won't show the field. I'll have to switch him out. Anyway, if you're watching, I see there's a few people out there. Not a lot, not many as people as normal. I wouldn't expect that today. Let me know who's watching, where you're from. If we have any New Mexico fans, great. I was hoping to pick up some New Mexico people today. They should be ecstatic as their team stormed their way into a really good road win, a game that opened up, looked like New Mexico was going to pitch a shutout as CSU struggled to do anything and get any kind of shot off. They threw the ball away. They missed badly. They traveled, you name it. They missed layups. And New Mexico, luckily, CSU was defending very, very well, or else it could have gotten out of hand early. CSU made an early run to get back and actually led 11-9. And it kind of went back and forth, and it was a pretty even game after 10 minutes. And at a couple minutes later, New Mexico led 19-16. And the next time CSU scored, New Mexico ran off 18 straight points to jump into a 21-point lead at 37-16, and that was pretty much the game. We all knew, those of us were hoping, you hope to come back, and CSU made a little bit of a run at the half, but went in down, I think, about 15 or 17 points at the half. And it was a half where they really didn't do, I shouldn't say they didn't do anything well. Defensively, they did a really good job on Donovan Dent. They had the defense prepared very, very well to deal with the screen and roll actions that New Mexico runs for between Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph. And that's not what was beating the Rams. They did a good job on Dent. They did a good job on Nelly Jr. Joseph, but it was the role players that came in and did the job. Mustafa Amzil, who's been a good player, good consistent player for the Lobos this year, came in and had a good, consistent first half, scored a bunch around the rim, a couple of offensive rebounds. CJ Noland had a couple of baskets at the rim, but the one that really stood out was a Serbian transfer named Filip Borakanovin, who had 10 points in the first half on 4 for 4 shooting, including a pair of threes. If those of you who follow CSU basketball, you may be familiar with a guy who posts as Rams for 3. Rams for 3 is he also posts he's very big in the recruiting of junior college players and in identifying European players. And he sent me a text in the first half. I ran into him at the game today. It was so good to see him. He's a great guy, and I love him. His name is Brandon Goebel. Brandon is Brandon is big time in the basketball business right now in terms of identifying players. As I said, junior college and Europeans. He sent me a text and said, "I'm really sorry. I'm the one that found Borakanovin." He said, "I'm the one that found Phil. He was a 17-year-old in a Cold War gym in Belgrade, and he's the one that got him to Arizona. Borakanovin started at Arizona, and I think he went 2 years there, and things weren't going well. He did not get much time at the University of Arizona. 6'9" kid, really good-looking athlete, good player, but zero confidence. And before the game, I talked a little bit with Jeff Grammer of the Albuquerque Journal, and I asked him about stuff, and he said, the one guy, he said, there's some guys that they need to start coming through. And he started talking about Orakanovin. And he said, I go to practices all the time. And the kid looks unbelievable in practice. And then he comes out in games and it looks like he plays with zero confidence. And tonight he played with confidence, and maybe that's a breakthrough game. That is exactly what this New Mexico needs if they're going to improve and make a run at the Mountain West. It was a heck of a performance by him. As I said, 4 for 4 shooting, 10 points in the first half. He wasn't the only role player. There's a couple other guys that came in and hit threes. Braden Applehands hit a 3 right out of the chute. There's another freshman named what was his name? I'll remember it in a second. Milosevic, kid from Canada, he nailed one out of the corner as well for 3. So everything was kind of going in and for them in the first half. But the real problem, I'm going to pull up the box score. It was a disastrous first half with that run by New Mexico, that 18-point run. And I'm not going to pull up the play-by-play. I am going to pull up the CSU box score from the first half and point out one thing, and that is 11 turnovers, and you just can't do that. 11 turnovers against a team that's that athletic and that fast and has a very, very good point guard. You just can't do that. So it was a disappointing first half. The Rams were behind the 8 ball. I didn't even look at what New Mexico did in the first half off of turnovers. Let's see, points off turnovers, 12 points off of turnovers in the first half. So they just dominated scoring off of turnovers, and that was the game. That's what New Mexico does. They're a very, very active team on the perimeter. They make it very, very hard. A couple of very good perimeter defenders. True Washington came back from injury, did not have a good game offensively, but he had a great game defensively, hounding whoever was on the ball. He was hounding Kyan Evans. He hounded Clifford when he was on him. He even hounded Jalen Lake when he got switched on him, and had a great defensive game. And let me look at their plus minuses. I want to see what let's see what True Washington ended up. +6, 0 points. The guys that were amazing, like I said, this Milosevic kid was a +6, played 16 minutes. All their players were just minor pluses. Everybody on CSU was a minus except for one player, and I'll talk about that in a minute. On the Rams side, they showed some life in the second half. They came out in the second half, and you can tell when Coach Medved talks to them, and every few games, some teams, it happens with his best teams. It doesn't happen more than about once every 8 or 10 games. With his teams that aren't as good, they have to be reminded every couple of games. Like the 3, love the paint. And they immediately started attacking in the second half. We saw Mbemba scoring. They're drawing fouls. They're doing all the things you need to do to get to the rim. And things were going better. They started looking like they were going to make a little bit of a move, and got it back to 10 points, which was pretty good from 21. New Mexico, like I said, is a good team with a great point guard. So to be able to get it back to 10, but then all of a sudden, what happens? Some really careless turnovers again. And next thing you know, the lead is back to 15. And if you watched my show this week on Thursday night, Swallowpalooza Thursday, I had Jalen Lake and CJ Nolan, 2 former high school teammates, on together with CJ's dad, Belvis Nolan. Belvis and his wife, Nikki, were at the game today, and I wanted to make sure I met them and said hello to them. And I missed them pre-game. I sent a text to Belvis, and And I said, I'd love to come over to meet you. He told me where he was sitting, and I sent him a text when the lead got back to 15 with about 10 minutes to go. I said, I'll come see you before the game's over. I'm going to have to get home. I don't think we're in for a thrilling finish. And he laughed, of course. I went over and met him, sat and watched the last 7 minutes or so with him. It was great. I had fun with him. And of course, he's one of those guys that worries about his team. He's telling me, you can't believe these guys, these New Mexico kids, they get so sloppy when they get leads. And you go, look at that, look at that, look at that. And I said, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. CSU won't come back. There's not enough on the floor for them to score enough points. And with Den on the floor, the other thing was, and it was something that was gonna keep them from doing anything to get into this fouling and possession, was they only had 3 team fouls with about 4 minutes to go in the second half. And I wish Nico maybe had recognized that they needed to get more aggressive and maybe pick up a few team fouls, and then you can get into the one-on-one fouling. New Mexico had Nelly Jr. Joseph on the floor. He's not a good free throw shooter, and he's a guy he had shot 1 for 2. He hadn't shot a lot of free throws, but he's not a good free throw shooter. He has games where he'll miss 6 in a row. You needed to get to the 1-on-1 with Nelly Jr. Joseph with 3 minutes to go and down 8 or 10 or 12, and they weren't able to get to that point. They didn't get to the 1-on-1 until a foul with like 25 seconds to go. Interestingly enough, I got a text. I was sitting with Coach Noland over on the New Mexico side up high. They screw the players' parents, by the way, at New Mexico. They give the boosters the good seats. They put good parents up high. So I got to sit up high. There was an extra seat up there, so that was okay. But I got a text from my friend Luke Kingsley, who said Nico was livid that New Mexico was able to inbound the ball, and they had to foul. I forget who they fouled, but the ball went to Nelly Jr. Joseph, and he had the ball, and he took about 3 dribbles and had time to pass the ball to a better free throw shooter. And you could evidently, Luke said you could see that Coach Medved was not real happy with his team, because Luke told me he guarantees you Nico went over the instructions of who to foul, and it was foul Nelly Jr. Joseph, and they had 3 seconds to foul him, and they didn't do it. And I don't know what the deal is with this team, but there's end of game stuff. They weren't going to get back in anyway. They were cooked. They fought, and I'm not going to tell you they are a horrible team. They had a terrible 6 or 7 minute stretch in the first half, and the game was over. And you can't do that. They did the same thing against Ole Miss. They did the same thing against Colorado, and you're cooked if you do that. Corey's with me. Can you put up the click on the CSU total stats? I did. I'm not going to worry about the plus minuses. There isn't anybody who stood out other than Kyle Jorgensen. Kyle Jorgensen played, actually, I thought, a very good game. He had the physical presence to deal with the inside game of New Mexico. They have 2 very, very strong bigs in Nelly Jr. Joseph and Akili or whatever. I never get his name right, but just 2 very physically strong people. And Kyle handled his own. 8 points, 3 rebounds. He had 4 assists against only 1 turnover. And I can honestly say I thought that was an extraordinary performance by a freshman big. Nick Clifford led the way for CSU with 17 points. Kyan Evans, 10. Jalen Crocker-Johnson came off the bench and delivered a little better performance than what we've been seeing from him. He's the guy we've known, and we're starting to see some things as he's figuring out how to play the 4 alongside Kyle Jorgensen. Croc had 13 points, a couple of dunks, 9 rebounds, 4 offensive, 5 defensive rebounds. and did a good job defensively. He was a -4. Obviously, he wasn't fantastic, but he was at least performing at a level that is decent. For the game, CSU shot 45%, but the three-point shooting, and I'm going to point out two players that are struggling right now, Jalen Lake and Nick Clifford, both struggling from three. Last game, Nick didn't take a lot of threes last game. I think he took 2 or 3. Jalen took 4, I think, and they were 1 for 7 between them. Today, they're 1 for 12. The rest of the team was 5 for 11. We saw Kyan Evans make a couple. We saw Kroc shoot 1 for 3, and Jorgensen was 2 for 3 from the perimeter. That was good. So we saw some good bench activity. The disappointing thing was we didn't see enough out of. We saw basically nothing off the bench from the two guards, Bowen Bourne and Keyshawn Williams, both 0 points. Bowen missed 2 shots at the rim. Keyshawn didn't even get a shot off, had a couple of rebounds or whatever, but really struggled. Bowen had a couple of turnovers, one in the open court in the first half where it looked like he got pushed, but if they're not calling it, you got to deal with it. So anyway, it was not a pretty sight, and I'm not gonna. I don't like singling out players. I'm going to say this: the offense flowed better when the bigs of Crocker Johnson and Jorgensen were in the game, and Mbemba and Morton were out of the game. I do feel for Nick Clifford, the three-point shooting, most of those threes are pulling up and extra, some of them at the very end were, 6 feet behind the line and desperation threes. And if you make those, you make them, you miss them. You probably aren't getting back into the game, but he doesn't get an easy 3 in this offense as other teams' defenses skew everything toward him. There are no easy catch and shoot opportunities for Nick in this current offense, the way it runs. Jalen Lake got a few, and he missed a few today. But there's nothing that comes easy for Nick. So 7 for 17, 0 for 5. He did what he could to get to the rim, had a great dunk over Nelly Jr. Joseph and end one. There is to be I would not hear any criticism of Nick Clifford in the game he played. He played all heart today, and his skill came out. And we saw 2 great players on the floor today in Nick Clifford and Donovan Dent. And you see what happens to players when other teams really design defenses to shut them down. In New Mexico's case, they were going to shut Nick down. He still finished with 17 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Dent, if you look at his line, Dent 7 for 16, 6 assists, 3 turnovers, only 2 rebounds. He had 40 points and I don't know, 8 assists, 10 assists. I don't know what he had against VCU in terms of assists, but he's coming off a 40-point National Player of the Week game, and they held him to 14. But a lot of that is CSU designed a defense that shut him down, and other teams are going to look at that film and see what CSU did, because they did a really, really good job and forced him into really tough situations. Don't get me wrong, the kid is a tremendous player, and we were kind of laughing as he hit a couple of layups in the second half he makes them look so easy. They are not easy, folks. They are not easy. Donovan Dent is an absolutely great player. Here we go. Turnovers were ridiculous. Corey, that was the key to the game in the first half. New Mexico is all about deflections and creating turnovers. CSU lost the turnover. They were -5 on turnovers. That's 5 shots at least. At 1 point of possession, that's 5 points. That's 5 points you give up. They did a good job on the boards against a decent rebounding team. CSU ended up out rebounding New Mexico, and I think that was good. They were very, very physical underneath. Nelly Jr. Joseph and Mustafa Amzil are very, very good on the offensive glass. CSU did a nice job there, but it was the missing of the threes and New Mexico making their role players making threes and the turnovers that ultimately did did CSU in. I'm still waiting to see if Mike shows up. I don't know if he's going to make it. He might have. Maybe he's hammered. I'm going to send him a. Forgive me here. I'm going to send him a quick text. Are you coming on? I'd love to have him. I want to get the. I want the YouTube violation. All right, here's the real thing. You guys don't get to see this if you're not into the arena. Downtown, it's not Freddie Brown. I forget his first name. Downtown Jack Brown. Downtown Billy Brown. Bobby, I don't know. Downtown Brown doing the national anthem on the sax. I like the saxophone, Chad. I love jazz music. I'm a very traditional person when it comes to the national anthem, so I prefer to hear it performed as more of a military sounding thing, where you're seeing the flag emerge through the rocket's red glare while Fort McHenry is being bombed. So as cool as it was with the sax, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know. Let me know what other people think if they're out there with that. It's the second time I think he's performed. I got to check. I want to check something else. I'm surprised Chad didn't update me. It must mean, Wyoming is up. Wyoming is up 2 on Nevada inside of 4 minutes. San Jose State beating Boise State by 7. Of course, CSU faces San Jose State on New Year's Eve on Tuesday. So a lot of momentum, a lot of interesting things going on in the Mountain West. I'm waiting to hear from Mike. I don't know if I'm going to hear from him. I'm not going to stay on much longer, folks. I'm kind of tired. I've been sick for about 4 days. It was all I could do to get that show done on Thursday night, and it was a lot of fun. I love the community. I love the fact that people have shown up. I love the fact that I had people in the arena again that were nice enough to say, hey, I really liked the show you did on Thursday night. And, you can't believe what it means to me. I'm having so much fun doing this. Corey, I love that you're showing up and you're getting into the Rams. I wish we had a better team for you. We were so ready defensively today, but I just think that they weren't ready offensively to deal with New Mexico's ball pressure and length. And the number of times that they tried to pass over a defender where the ball got deflected, where maybe a bounce pass or a wraparound or just anything else would have worked. And they just looked like such sloppy turnovers as Corey pointed out. And that you're never going to win when you turn the ball over 18 times against a team like New Mexico. The Rams did a good job against Nevada. I think they had a lot of turnovers in the first half that kept Nevada in it. Oh, here we go. Look who's here. Hey, stick around, everybody. Here's Mikey. How are you? Can you hear me?
It is so loud here. CSU fans have brought it today. Now the offense needs to wake up and do it too.
Can anybody tell me what the score is? No one's told me the score. I'm not able to follow. I can't follow it right now. I'm just too busy with some other stuff. Oh, Mike says
I can't hear anything at all.
Okay,
well, so
loud. Okay, well, I'll let you. Hey, if you want to take off, that's fine. Thank you for checking in.
I'm gonna give you a shot at the crowd.
There you go. Looks like a great CSU crowd. Beautiful night in Tucson, Arizona. My home for 2 years. I went to graduate school there. I've been in that stadium multiple times.
Probably the best that we've had. All right, I got it.
All righty. We'll see you, Mike. Miami is up 6-3, a field goal effort. Welcome to the National Football League. That stadium is near and dear to my heart. If I told you the number of great players I've seen in that stadium, John Elway is a freshman. He was pretty good. Ricky Bell was a running back with Southern California back in, I think it was had to be 1980. And there's 79. No, it was 79 because I was gone by 80. It was 79. I went to see in 1988. I took a trip for the weekend to see UCLA play, and I saw Troy Aikman play there. And then when my daughter was in school as an undergrad, I got to see a game against University of Arizona against Stanford. And of course, Gronk was playing tight end for Arizona at the time. And the quarterback for Stanford was Andrew Luck. So I've seen nothing but Hall of Fame type players in that stadium, near and dear to my heart. I don't know if there's quite the level of play. Some of those Pac-10 and then later Pac-12 teams. Unbelievable. That used to be, if the worst quarterback in the Pac-12 would have been a starter in the Big Ten at any school. So anyway, Mike, thank you for stopping in. Miami up 6-3. Thanks, Chad. Let's call it a wrap. Let's see, 61-61, 2 minutes to go with Nevada, Wyoming. I'll get off and follow that. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit tonight. I'm going to be doing a post game with my friend Tom Moser. We do tonight in the Mountain West. We do at least a game a week, and we are doing Utah State at San Diego State. We'll be coming on about 6:30 tonight Mountain Time, so 8:30 Tom's time. Tom lives in Delaware, and so oh, look at this. Here we go. See Gronk playing hoops in high school in Pittsburgh. I'll bet you that was brutal. Yeah, that's something. Anyway, Tom and I will be doing a game later tonight, and we'll probably talk about the other Mountain West games. We usually try and give a little bit of insight into the games we saw. Tom watches virtually everything. I'm not going to get to watch those other games. Tom will have insight into the Wyoming game. He'll watch the Boise game, and then he'll watch the whole San Diego State, Utah State game, which is starting in about 5 minutes on, I believe, Fox. Normally we'd come on 15 minutes after the game, but it's a national TV game, and therefore I gave us a half hour. So 6:30 Mountain Time. Come join us. Anybody from San Diego State, you people from New Mexico, if you're out there, come in later too. Come in and chat up your team. Your team was fantastic today. I have been a big fan of this New Mexico team since the off season. Anybody who watched me early in the year, I had them as one of my top two teams along with Boise State. Boise State has not started clicking yet. They're struggling. Omar Stanley, an all-conference player, has been struggling this year, but they'll still get better. They'll be good as the conference season goes on. I like New Mexico's physicality and athleticism, and they sure showed it today. New Mexico fans should be excited, because if those pieces start coming together, I talked a little bit with Aaron Katsuma, former CSU assistant, now at New Mexico, and he said, "Yeah, once these guys start clicking in as we think they will, we think we're going to get pretty good." And they showed their potential today. CSU gave it their best. Like I said, we struggled with turnovers. They fought hard to the end. They didn't quit, but in the end, just not enough. Congrats to New Mexico. New Mexico moves to 2-0. And at the top of the Mountain West, CSU drops to 1-1. The road win that they gained against Nevada, they gave back with a loss at home today, but it's onward and upward. New Year's Eve at San Jose State. And I believe New Mexico travels for New Year's Eve to Fresno State. So anyway, thanks again. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for Chad, Corey, all you people out there. Thanks for watching. Hopefully see you later tonight on Tonight in the Mountain West, and if not, Monday morning with my Monday morning cup of coffee show with Brady Hall. Anyway, thanks again. Go Rams.